that's where I actually died. I was actually very peaceful, very calm at this point. Now, the next thing I know is I'm in this field of flowers and I can see the valleys rolling with the hills. I saw cities way, way over in the distance. I saw oceans. I saw villages. I could see everything because it was all panoramic. I was there for so long, seeing so many people. I interacted with them. And in my book, which is called 5 Years in Heaven, I explain the people. I explain how we connect with the people. I explain how we think and we become what we think about. So I learnt what we think we create. And I learnt that in heaven. We create what we want. Manifest.
We are here with Dr. Lynda Cramer. She had an amazing NDE in 2001. She was clinically dead for 15 minutes, but during this time, she spent 5 years in heaven. Hi, Lynda, how are you?
Hi to you too. Thank you so much for having me on your channel. I am so honored to be here for you.
I found out about you through your book, 5 Years in Heaven. I read your story, and now I want to share it with everyone who's watching this video.
Yep.
It's really amazing. So, can you begin with the day that you had your NDE, please?
I was into my second marriage and I was living in North Carolina. I'm an Australian, so I traveled over to America to get married over there to the man who I was married to in North Carolina. It was a very not nice relationship because I wanted to stay in America. I love America. I wanted to stay there, do the immigration. I wanted to get my green card, work there, live there, and have a family with this man. However, he didn't have the same ideals as me. He did not want to do immigration. He just virtually wanted me to be an illegal immigrant over there. So we were fighting quite a bit. And I don't need to explain that part because I don't like triggering people with mental health or domestic abuse. So I ended up getting quite sick. And on the 6th of May 2001, I was struggling to breathe and he would not take me to a doctor. So I went to bed and I woke up at about 2 o'clock in the morning and I couldn't breathe. And it was about 10 minutes just to get into the toilet area off the bedroom. So I, at that time, thought I was just going back to sleep. It was that peaceful and calm that I just thought, oh, thank God, I finally made it to the toilet. Come on, I still joke about it. And that's where I actually died. Now, the next thing I know is that I'm floating up near the ceiling in the living room. I looked down and I only had knees. There was nothing to my feet. It was all just gone. But it didn't scare me. I was actually very peaceful, very calm at this point. And in through the door came two paramedics. They ran through past me into where the bedroom is and I assumed they went into where my body was over in the ensuite area. So in my book, I actually have pictures that I drew when I woke up. So here's one of my diagrams. This is where I found myself floating, and this is all the way around here in the ensuite was where my body was. So here's the front door up here, and I watched everybody come in and go down this corridor through the bedroom. So the first two were the paramedics. Then in came a sheriff. There was some fire department personnel. There was some other people in other uniforms. I didn't know who they were. The sheriff arrived. He came in, and during this time I saw everything. I observed everything they did in the living room. So when the sheriff turned up, which is important because I verified this with him after this event, I saw that one of his buttons had popped off. He had a limp when he walked in. He wasn't walking correctly. I saw which chair he sat in. I saw everything that he wrote down in his clipboard and in his paperwork. I heard every conversation he had with the other people in the house. And then I watched as 2 more paramedics turned up, which I now know are the advanced crews. So they came through, and they had all this equipment, massive. They had big green like bags of these equipment that they carried through. And they went in. And at this point, I wasn't scared. It was just like, oh yeah, here I am. And I realized afterwards that during this time, which can be verified at this, I was actually floating for 45 minutes. So that was the time from when I first arrived, when I saw the first 2 paramedics come through. And when they wheeled me out, that was 45 minutes later. So on Earth time, that was 45 minutes where I was hovering near the ceiling. I saw everything. And I saw them wheel me out. And I wasn't afraid. I wasn't concerned. I wasn't attached to this person at all. I had no care at all for who that person was. And I even thought to myself, wow, what did they do to her hair? Her hair, not my hair, because it wasn't me anymore. So they left. My ex-husband, who is now my ex, he left and he locked the front door. And I'm still floating there. And that's when all these blue orbs came in through the door. The door actually opened, which is something I cannot explain because he locked the door when he left. So in through the door came all these orbs. So again, here's another diagram that I wrote. I drew this when I was still in hospital, by the way. And they were all dark blue colors. Beautiful. Some of them are small, some of them are quite big. And they were all hovering around me, but they did not collide. So they had some sort of intelligence to them. So I was observing these for I don't know how many minutes. And then they all stopped and they all flew out of the front door and the door shut again. So I don't know what that was, but there was obviously some communication there. But I wasn't part of that because I had no way of knowing what they were thinking, if they were thinking. And I believe in hindsight, they were just observing me, seeing what I was doing at that point. They didn't scare me, they didn't upset me, and they certainly did not communicate with me at any point. So I don't know who these entities were. So then I get this tap on the shoulder. And as I turn to where this tap is, I find myself in the fog stage. So if you close your eyes, that's the fog stage. And then when I opened my eyes, well, I didn't blink because there was no blinking. So I was in this darkness, which I call the fog stage. And then as the fog goes away, I find myself in this field of flowers, but I didn't move. There was no transportation, but I'm in this field of flowers. And I can see the valleys rolling with the hills. I saw cities way, way over in the distance. I saw oceans. I saw villages, townships, pathways, paved rocks, footpaths. I could see everything because it was all panoramic. Everything around me. I didn't have to turn my head to see everything. It was all in my awareness without having to turn my head. And as I looked down, I now had feet. And as I tried to walk, because I'm still thinking of here in our lives where we have to use one foot after the other, as I tried to move a foot forward, the flowers below me moved. So they knew that I knew that I could crush them, even though I couldn't crush them because they were energy. And these flowers, which I have another diagram of, every petal of every plant life had energy surging out of the end of it. Everything was like static electric. Everything was an energy force. From the music that I could hear constantly while I'm in this place, the buildings emitted it, the rocks and the mountains emitted it, the water emitted it, and even I emitted this electric static energy. And that energy was one emotion: love, unconditional acceptance, unconditional calmness that comes when we're totally at peace. So people say, how long was I in this place for? So I estimate by the time I walked, I generally walk at about 3 to 5 miles per hour. That's my rate of walking. So as I'm walking down cobblestone pathways lead into cities, and I think when I turn around and I see how far, like a distance I've walked, I could put a time like we would have here on Earth, a time. And I believe in this place I was there for like 18 months or 2 years because I was there for so long, seeing so many people. I interacted with them. And in my book, which is called 5 Years in Heaven, I explain the people. I explain how we connect with the people. I explain how we think and we become what we think about. So when I'm at the bottom of a mountain, if I wanted to climb that mountain, if I think about climbing the mountain, I'm instantly halfway up that mountain climbing it. But if I think that I'm on top of the mountain, instantly I'm on top of the mountain looking down thinking, wow, I'm here. So I learnt what we think we create, which is so important with the work that I do now. So in this place, I was there for probably 18 months. I do explain it more in my videos on YouTube than on my own channel. I talk about it in my book more. But then I get this tap on the shoulder again. And as I turn to find out who's tapping me on the shoulder, again, I'm in this black space, like a fog. And when I open my eyes, I'm outside of this huge cathedral. And in this cathedral, we have stonework that's like 50 feet to 150 feet, just one block of stone. We have timbers that are hundreds of feet long and 100 foot wide. So how tall were these trees that these planks of wood came from? And way down the other end of this huge corridor was what I use the photo as being the front page of my book. So I'm sitting here now, standing in front of these three beings. Here's me in my pajamas, because I was still in my pajamas at this point, because I died in my pajamas. And these three didn't look human. They were energy. So coming up from the bottom of them, it was like energy coming up like a reverse waterfall. And when the energy got up to where the head was, it spiraled not just left to right, but also right to left. So it was intermingling and it was dimensional. I could see through the energy. So it wasn't a materialistic body like we have here with solid being. So they didn't even talk to me. But I heard telepathically, we are not here to judge. Okay. It sounded male, but were these male? Because there's nothing to show me that these were male beings. But instantly I knew that I had to look inside this box. And as you can see, energy's coming all out of this box. So I took the top off this box, and inside there was no walls, no floors. It was eternity. And everything in there were these little bubbles. And each bubble, like a little balloon, had a video screen inside them with a memory that I had lived. And I'm looking at these millions, billions of memories of me. I could see myself as a baby. I could see myself as a teenager. I could see myself when I was 5. I could see myself when I was working for Australia Post in my 20s. I saw my wedding from my first husband. I saw my second wedding. Everything was there. And then it dawned on me. I knew, like a psychic that I am, I knew that I had to pick out one bubble at a time and heal the memory of the emotional reactions that I had caused. And this is what's called karma. So here's another picture I drew. And this is a story about one of the things that I do talk about. So here's my hand with all the energy of this orb. And inside is the little TV screen where I'm a baby pulling my grandmother's cat's tail. Now, obviously, I knew it was wrong because I knew that it was wrong. So obviously my parents or my grandparents had told me, don't touch the cat's tail, Lynda. But I again pulled the cat's tail, so I knew it was wrong. So instantly I was watching this scene where I'm observing this child pulling the cat's tail. Then I become Lynda, the baby, and I'm giggling, and I could feel my diaper, my nappy that I'm wearing, and I can feel the grass under my bottom, and I can feel the wind on my face. I'm there, reliving this like it was now. And I'm thinking, I'm going to pull the cat's tail. So I'm reliving the memory again. And as I pull the cat's tail, I see the cat's reaction, screaming out in pain. And then instantly, I'm now the cat. Sitting there doing my own thing. I can feel my fur. I can feel my tail moving. I can feel my ears twitching to the wind, and I can feel my whiskers sensing if there was anything in the grass, little mouse. And then I can see this child sitting next to me. And I already knew that this child had hurt me before. But here we go. The little child pulls my tail. And the pain not only comes up my tail, it goes all the way up my spine to the back of my neck. And I let out this, ow! So now I've got to heal. Why did the little girl do that to me? So not only do we heal what we do to others, we have to heal the reaction of what pain or happiness we cause to others. So this is what I call perspective, which is now what I teach. So that's one of probably 8,000 memories, 6,000 to 8,000 memories. And how long was I in this time for? Because each memory, if I had to put a time on each memory, some of them I healed them within 15 minutes. Others would have been 45 minutes where I'm sitting on the floor bawling my eyes out. And even the good things, it's like tenfold where we are so happy because of something I'd done in my past. And the bad things I've done, which I do talk about in my book, because they're the ones that we all fear, right? So I talk about the bad things that I did and how we heal those. So we don't have to heal them again when we go through this life review, because that's what it's called, our life review. So 45 minutes by 8,000-ish? I'm thinking that was months and months and months. So I estimate that at about a year or a year and a half. Easy. Could have been 2 to 5 years I was just there doing my life review. But then, as I'm about to reach in and get another orb out of this box, because there was billions in there that I had to go through, I get another tap on the shoulder. And as I'm about to turn, again, I'm in this dark space. This time I open my eyes and I'm in this white space. There's no floors, no ceiling, no doors or windows. It's all white. Now, if you've watched the TV show Manifest, where the people go missing on the airplane, the very last episode, when they walk out of the plane, they walk out into the white space. Very similar to that if you want to go and find that on Netflix. It's called Manifest, the very last episode. So I believe the producers of these shows know what's really out there because they put these little drops into their TV shows that I experienced also. And I didn't watch Manifest until about 2 years ago. So how could have I had this experience 22 years ago? And then now somebody else has used the same thing in their TV show. So I believe this is real. So here I am in this white space. and I'm looked down and now I've got feet, thank goodness, but I'm not standing on anything because there's no floor. So I'm sort of like hovering there. And way over in the distance is this woman. I can see her, she's only little. And as she walks towards me, she's getting bigger and bigger because there's no floor. There's nothing around to say distance. So she comes right up to me and she says, "What are you here for?" And I'm like, where am I? I don't know where I am. She says, "Oh, you've got to go back." And I'm thinking, well, how can I go back to where I was because I don't know how I got here in the first place? So she calms herself down and she starts telling me this story. Her name is Karina. She is my great, 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 great grandmother. She was born in the very early 1800s. She told me where she lived. She told me the address. She told me how they built the house. She told me how to make an axe out of tree trunks. She told me, explained and described how to make this device to do washing on down in the creek. She showed me how to make clothing without knowing how to sew, how to make string out of wool, how to make a needle out of a piece of wood. So all of these conversations, how long was I there for just talking about her and gathering all this information about her? You know, when I sit here and I talk to a friend for an hour on the phone, when I hang up, I can think about what we said in that hour. But just this part of Karina and my conversation, I think there was 6 months there. Easy 6 months where we just didn't shut up talking to each other about her life. Every intricate, intimate, personal detail of everything she ever did. And then she started talking about me. So remember, this was in 2001. She said to me, "You must go back to the land from where you're from, which is Australia." She said, "If you stay in America in September, August, no, yeah, in September," she said, "you've got to leave by August because in September they will round you up and send you home." And she told me about 9/11. She said, "People will be watching this event from afar and there will be dust everywhere. Everyone will be grey from the materials that will fall. People in the sky will be looking down, filming as these buildings fall down." And that's 9/11. And look at what happened after 9/11. They rounded up all the illegal immigrants and they got deported. My immigration would have finished in August because we got married in August. So I had to lodge my immigration before August or else I too was an illegal immigrant. So I had to come home. She told me that I would work with the police for 10 years, which I did from 2002 to 2012. She told me that I'd need 2 years off to deal with the stress of what I got from that job. Well, as I tell everyone, I got PTSD, chronic post-traumatic stress disorder. It did take me 2 years to sort myself out to the point where I thought I could work again. She told me that I would be a first aid trainer for 2 years. And I was from January 2015 to January 2017. So that was exactly 2 years. She said to me, "You must remember this date in your future year of 2005, for this is the date you will conceive your child." And I thought, what? And she said, "Your child is very important to us." Who the hell are us? Who's this us? Was it her and me, us? Her and somebody else, or me and my future partner, us? I had no idea what she was saying. Us. Your child will be very important to us. So I remembered that date. And guess what? My daughter is now 18 years old. I remembered the date that she told me. She told me about earthquakes, the one that killed 250,000 people in Indonesia. She told me about the volcano eruption in Hawaii a few years ago. She said, "You'll be sitting on your computer while you are locked down." Now, isn't it funny? Because we were in lockdowns when that volcano was going off. And she said it will create 3 miles of new land, which it did. I was glued to the TV watching that lava because it was going so fast coming out of the fissures. She told me about COVID. She told me about the lockdown. She told me about the vaccination. She told me about the election that we've just had and the importance of where it would have gone because World War III was so prominent. She told me about all the wars up in the Northern Hemisphere at this point. And she told me a lot of more things that were coming that haven't yet come. So I know that my days here aren't over just yet because there's more in my life that I have to experience. So then how long was she telling me about my stuff? I believe it was another 8 to 12, 15 months. So overall, from being in heaven to doing my life review and talking to this lady who was my great-great-great-great-grandmother, I believe it was 5 years. She told me about reincarnation. So there's another picture I've got where she was telling me all about the tunnel with the white light at the end of it. She told me about life lessons, life reviews. She told me about life contracts and how we do sign up to do what we had to do. But then she said, your time here is done. It's time for you to go back. And I said, well, how can I go back when I don't know how I got here? She said, Lynda, all you've got to do is think about what you want and you create it. And I learned that in heaven. We create what we want, manifest. So I started thinking about the house. I started thinking about the bedroom that I had and how my body was in that toilet area. And then as I open my eyes, because now I can open my eyes, I see I'm lying down and they're pulling this big blue tube out of my throat. And it hurt. What's this pain? Because I've had just like 5 years of no pain. And then I feel the blood pressure cup on my arm and it hurts. Really bad it hurts. And I'm thinking, what the heck is this? What's this pain? Because I haven't had pains for so long. And then a nurse is there. Squeeze my hand if you can hear me. So I'm squeezing her hand, which felt so weird because I've never had to move my fingers for so long. So then I sort of come around a bit and I look at this nurse and I said, how's Motley? She said, what? I said, Motley, your cat. She said, what do you know about Motley? And I said, come on, you've been here all week telling me about your cat. He's 13 years old. He's got kidney disorder. He's got long grey hair. You don't know whether to put him down. It's $3,000 for an operation. You don't know whether to get another kitten. And she said, enough. I do have a cat called Motley. He is 13 years old. It is a male. He has got long grey hair. He has got kidney disorder. I've taken him to the vet and they told me it was $3,000. But how do you know this? And I said, because you've been here telling me all week. She said, Lynda, I am here today, my first day in ICU. I usually work 2 floors down. I haven't even seen you before today. So then they put me into my own room. And a nurse walks in and she says, how are you feeling? And I said, it's all good. I'm just talking to these 5 people. At the end of my bed, there was an old lady sitting in a chair, young girl, male, probably 40, 45 years old. Another person was there. So it was 4 people and a white Labrador dog. And she's looking back and forward and she says, who are you talking to? And I said, all them. They're all sitting here visiting with me. She says, Lynda, you're here alone. There's no one else in the room. And I said, look, if you can let her know that you're here, can you please bang on the window? Instantly, bang, 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 3 huge knocks on the window. The window was shaking. It was so loud. She dropped her clipboard, ran from the room, and I didn't see her again. So my psychic abilities were so in tune. I knew what song was on the radio. I could go for the phone before it rings. Well, I still do that. I pick up my phone and then it starts to ring. I do psychic readings now. And then, who's this lady that tapped me on the shoulder? I've seen her many times in my life. So I've got a whole chapter dedicated to who she is. Who is this woman? Chapter 1 in my book. Because she has appeared. I have seen her a few times. And one of those instances was when I took my daughter to the pool and she appeared in the pool with me, but there was no water around her. So there's a picture of her in the pool with no water around her. And she looked at me. Now, nobody else in the pool saw her. No one, it was like they were all in a daze, hypnotized. No one else saw the conversation. She pointed at me and she said, "Are you ready?" And I said, "Ready for what?" And she said, "We think you're ready." And it was about 2 weeks later, a man came to my house for a reading. And as he walked in, he had this big white big white rat on his shoulder. And I said, "Wow, Matt, I love your rat." And he said, "Where? What?" He couldn't see it. And then this rat stood up and it looked me straight in the eye. It opened its mouth and it said, "I may be just a small rat, but I am this man's protector and I'm keeping him on his path." What? So now I see spirit guides as well as everything else I do. Furniture talks to me, cars tell me what's wrong with them. Please fix my muffler. Tell my owner I've got a tear in the inside pocket of my jacket, the jacket. So furniture talks to me. Flowers, trees talk to me. Animals talk to me. And the biggest one is that I now see inside people as well, so I can see injuries. One of my best confirmed one was a lady who said, she came to my house and said, "I'm having an operation. I've got endometriosis. I've got 8 tumors inside me." And I said, "Do you mind if I have a look?" And she said, "Yes." As I looked inside, there was a big one, but as I turned my head, I could see a little one just behind it. I said, "Honey, you haven't got 8 tumors, you've got 9. So please tell your surgeon to go in behind the big one and get that little one out." She rang me about 3 days after her operation and said, "Lynda, the surgeon listened. He did go in behind the big one and he found the little one that you saw as well." So it was confirmed there was 9 and not just 8. So I look inside people. I see physically inside people. Cholesterol tells me the cholesterol levels, blood pressure readings. I can actually feel the heartbeat of other people. So my work now is teaching how to be angelic. We all want to be nice, loving, caring persons, but how do we do that? How do we get past our insecurities? How do we get past being sarcastic, comparing ourselves to others, being offended? Now look at how many people now are being offended. People want to judge, which is not right. Because when we judge, we are accusing and we're also comparing, which is so negative. So the second half of my book is called The Teachings of Heaven. How to be a more loving, gorgeous, full, loving person. The world needs us now. I call ourselves the soul-searching warriors. If you watch me on YouTube, I do a live every Sunday morning at 9 o'clock here in Brisbane. And I talk to people. I do psychic readings. I do free tarot readings. So you're welcome to come and look at that. But I do what I do for them, for her, because she talks to me every single day. Every day she'll see something like go outside. And as I go outside, I'll see a flock of birds fly past. So that's something to be appreciative for. Sometimes she says go outside, and just as I open the door, there's a head-on collision right in front of my house. So I'm the witness. Thanks for that one. Okay? But she looks after me. She has saved me so much money over the years by saying things like, "Go to the shops now." And as I walk in, they say, "Oh, aren't you lucky you're here now because we've just started a half price sale." So she helps me that way. But more importantly, which is why I love what I do, I don't do it for my own ego. I take my ego out of it's no longer in existence. I do my work for them to reach you. How many times do people ring me or contact me and they say, I don't know where I'm going. I don't know my purpose. I don't know why I'm here. So I connect with our guides and our angels, and I give people ideas on what they can do. Oh, they want you to do this course. They want you to change your job. Have you thought about moving to this city? So we get our purpose from doing what we're passionate about. Passion equals that emotion of love that's in heaven. And that's what I preach these days. So I have trained myself. I've educated myself. I've now got a PhD, so I'm Dr. Lynda Cramer. I've got about 15 qualifications to my name, including 3/4 of a bachelor degree in psychology. So I can try and help people get through this absolute weird lifetime that we're in now, to try and find that piece of heaven within ourselves so we can create that here on earth.
I have several questions.
Sure.
First, when your great grandmother talked to you about the future, she also mentioned certain events that have not yet taken place. Can you talk about that a little?
Oh, well, the biggest one that I do talk about is how close we were to nearly having World War III. We are still at that cusp where World War III could start any minute of the day. I firmly believe that once we get through this next 6 months, 2025 is where we start to find that peace. We are moving in, like our planet is moving into what I call an energy belt. Like if you know the Van Allen belt, we're moving into this electromagnetic field, which increases our psychic ability. That's why there's so many people now that can see ghosts. We have those deja vu moments. We're having moments where we just know something. Or we might walk outside and we see a UFO flying around. Because now we are opening up. We are absorbing our awareness. And that's what I like teaching people, because it confuses us. When we're going through all these conscious growth spurts, we get to this point where it confuses us. We can't sleep. We're having anxiety attacks. We feel like throwing up. We get nauseated. We come out in hives. People get rashes on themselves. They want some help. They want some direction, because right now a lot of people aren't trusting pharmaceutical companies anymore. So they're looking for the natural cures and the natural, which is innate abilities that we have to self-heal. So guess what the universe did to me? Not only have I had a broken neck, which I still have, C2 and C3 are still not connected, I should be quadriplegic, but I've also had a brain tumor. And only 2 years ago, I was diagnosed with throat cancer, which I don't have anymore. I've learned how to self-heal. So when I talk to people, I get people all the time, oh my God, I've just had a stroke. Well, we've got to look at whether it's part of our life path to have that stroke, or is it something that we're to learn how to get rid of? So some people do have strokes, per se, as an example, because it's needed for who they are. So everything in our life is an opportunity of advancement and growth. Everything bad that happens is an opportunity for advancement and growth. How can we ever try to be good, loving, positive people unless we see the atrocities of war and mass genocides? See what I mean?
Do you think that your experience in heaven was sort of co-created? Did it have to be? Did it have to do with your own subconscious content, your culture?
Oh,
Because every NDE is different, but I think that NDEers co-create their experience and make it different.
yes,
Could you explain what
absolutely.
you think?
Absolutely. And that is 100% accurate. We create our own reality of our conscious awareness. So heaven for everybody is different. So when I look at heaven, my own experience, I look at the commonalities that other people have. Like, there are a lot of people who say, I found myself in a field of flowers. So I contact them and I say, well, what were your flowers looking like? What shape were they? How many were there? What was the field looking like? So I can see those commonalities. I've had people who say, I met God. So I say to them, how do you know it was God? Did he actually use his name? Or when they say, oh, I met Jesus or Muhammad or Buddha. Well, did they actually introduce them and say, well, my name is? Because I met a person who told me, my name is Karina. I am your great, 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 great grandmother. So these people say, well, they didn't tell me their name was Jesus, but I thought it was because of the energy coming out of them. And I say, but everybody in heaven has that energy coming out of them. And I've got the photo, I've got the pictures to prove it. So I look at each individual NDE as an opportunity to see what mine lacked, because I didn't see it all. And I don't think everybody does. How long is a road? You know, you can travel for 20,000 miles and you still don't see the part of the road that somebody else saw, because that's that fragment of their imagination or their consciousness that they create based on their own lives, beliefs, memories, and their own wants for the future that we create within ourselves. So I say to people, is there a heaven? And I've done heaps of videos, and my next book is actually called Hell Explained is my next book. Is there really a hell? No. We create a hell based on our own regrets, our own shortfallings, and our, most importantly, the things that we wanted, which we never got. So this is our grudges that create that hell experience. I didn't see a hell experience. I may next time I die, because every time people die, it's a different example. But I only base my opinion on the experience that I've had and how long I was there for. So it was 2003, about a year after I came back to Australia. I was working with the police. I started looking into this, thinking, what the hell happened to me? I didn't know what it was called, so I was looking at death, and I found the word near-death experience. And going down that rabbit hole, I found a man called Dr. Raymond Moody. Now, I didn't know who he was at that point, but I emailed him and I said, can I please tell you what happened to me, so you can, if you know, can you please let me know what I went through? So he replied and he said, yeah, sure, let me know what you saw. So I gave him the basic of my NDE, and he said, I actually termed the word near-death experience. Can I use you in one of my books? Yes, he has used me in one of his books under a different name, because he does change the names of every person, thankfully, for privacy. But he's mentioned me in his works, which is great. And he was the one who said to me, I haven't got the email anymore, but he said, my NDE was one of the most in-depth experiences he had ever heard of. That's coming from Dr. Raymond Moody. Wow, with all his tens of thousands of NDEs that he's experienced. So I now use that knowledge to bring that awareness to other people. I constantly talk about what we think we create, because I want people to have a good heaven experience. Every one of us deserves to have a good heaven experience. I don't want to see anyone going into that pit of hell. So I do my damnedest now. A lot of my work is free. I get hundreds of emails some days, and I'm happy to reply to all of them because I try to help as many people as I can. But I look at it now as this opportunity where we create what it is that we want in our future every single day. Every thought we have, every word we say, the more we say, oh, I am feeling sick today, the more you'll be sick, because you've just manifested it. So when I get sick, I say, no, I'm healthy, I'm well, I am fit. And how do you think I cured my brain tumor and my throat cancer? I didn't have chemo. I didn't have an operation. Look, no cuts, no surgery. I've still got all my hair because it's our thoughts that create what we see. And it's our thoughts that creates our consciousness.
Right. How interesting. So, your great 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 grandmother talked to you about your future life up to 2000 2050, right? More or less.
Yeah, around 2050. Yeah.
Okay, so that's a long time. So you think humanity will make it up to 2050? What will the Earth be like, more or less? Do you have any idea?
Well, I don't like telling people what's coming because that impedes with our own free will.
Okay.
If so, people say to me constantly, they say things like, should I go out? Should I do this course or should I go with that course? And I say it very clearly. I say, if I tell you which one to make, if I tell you which decision to make, I have just taken away your free will to decide on your own. And then if it doesn't go well for you, you'll blame the psychic who told you. See what I mean? So I don't like telling people what's in the future because I believe we can still create the future that we want. Because there was a lot of psychics, including me, who were saying that World War III was going to start in November this year. And thankfully, the US election went the way it did, whether you like it or not, because if Harris got in, I believe missiles would have been flying about now. That's where I am. So thank goodness it went the way it had to go, because now we can go into a time of peace. The world wars will end, and people will start not being as judgy as they are at this point. So I don't like telling people what's coming. I don't like spreading fear. Every day in our lives are built up of good times, bad times. That's why it's a roller coaster, our existence. How do we learn unless we go down a roller coaster? So if I told people what was coming, they could possibly change how they react to that situation instead of learning that life lesson that they were supposed to be thrown into when it occurs. So, how do we know if we have courage unless we dive in to save a child that's drowning in a river? So if I told you, oh, tomorrow that child's going to drown in a river, you'd be on the bridge to save that kid from jumping, right? So I don't like telling people what's really coming in like 10 years' time because we have to live our life under free will. We have to,
Oh, yeah, but
yeah.
at least humanity will exist in 2050.
Oh, absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. Yes. I've seen clothes that haven't come out yet. Everyone says go put a patent on it now, Lynda. But it's not my patent to have. So that's where I'm at as a psychic, as well, what can I change and what can I get involved with? You know, if I did that, then that's just my ego. Whereas I am just privy to seeing things that um I just allow to occur in the natural progression of our own conscious awakening and progression of our lives. So, I was telling people 5 years ago about COVID. I remember seeing my dad on March 1st, 2020. And Dad said, are you coming around here for your birthday in 5 days' time? And I said, Dad, hate to tell you, but I don't think I can come around on my birthday because the government's not going to let us because the lockdowns are about to start. And he said, what do you mean? And I said, well, it's about to be this virus. And 2 days later was when the government said, here's the virus. And you've got to stay indoors and protect yourself. So I didn't go and see him on my birthday 5 days later. So I do tell people certain drops of it, but I don't impede on free will ever. I don't break that karmic ripple because I know the severe and the dire consequences that comes when we bring karma onto other people that don't deserve it. So yeah, there are things that are coming. I've seen there's another tsunami. I've seen there's an earthquake in New Zealand coming up very soon. It could be before Christmas. I can see that there's also going to be another major earthquake around San Francisco and California way, around there. That's going to be like a 7.9 on the Richter scale. That one's coming up probably in the next 6 months. But if I go over there and warn these people, then that doesn't let them learn the life lesson that they've got to learn when it happens. That's why they're put in that position at that time. And it's only my ego that wants to save people. You know, I've dreamt so many plane crashes over the years. And if I rang those airlines and said, oh, your plane's about to crash, then they'd think I was in Looney Tune, you know, which takes me back to when I was a child. I was nearly put into institutions because of the things I was saying as a psychic child, because I've had psychic abilities all my life, but they were highly amplified after my NDE. Yeah, so I don't impede. I try not to go too much into future, like future. I only like staying around the 2-year basis. So even when people contact me for readings and they say, oh, where am I going to end up? I actually say, I'm only going to tell you up to the next 2 years because that's, it's your free will, but there's so many different possibilities that can happen at every moment of the day. We have different choices at every moment of the day, and it has to be free will that decides those things.
Right. So how can people contact you if they're interested in readings or in
Yeah.
contact you?
I've got a website. It's called Lynda Rae. Now, please spell it right because my mum decided to spell my name a little bit weird when I was born. My name is Lynda, Lynda. My middle name is Rae, Rae. So my website is lindarae.info. I actually have links on my website with my qualifications, what I do. I've got a link there if you want any of my 4 books that I presently have. There's also a link there if you wish to get a reading from me. I'm in Brisbane, Australia, so once we turn out work out time zones, I send people Zoom links for sessions with me. Good thing about me is I don't charge. I just ask for contributions. So it's all about what people can actually afford. So I don't have a set amount that I ever ask for people because we're all doing it rough. You know, I get a lot of emails. My email is lynda@lindarae.info. I get a lot of emails where people just say, hey, I'm having a little bit of a struggle. Can you please give me some advice? I love those emails where I can help people for free. I try to do as much as I can of their work for everybody on the planet. And isn't it great that I live in a time now where we've got the technology where I can communicate with like yourself and all the other people on the planet? It's amazing. I love what I do.
This has been the A.J. Parr Spiritual Journalist Podcast. Please like, share, and subscribe.